Fritz Pollard was born the seventh of 8 children on January 27, 1894, to a biracial mother and African-American father. Fritz's real name is Frederick Douglass Pollard, after a famous orator and social reformer who fought for equal rights. He was given the nickname Fritz by neighborhood friends in his predominantly white Chicago community. The name would stick with him throughout his life. Fritz grew up in an up-and-coming community named Rogers Park. Rogers Park had about 3,500 residents, mostly descending from Germany. Fritz grew up with his parents and 7 siblings. He took pride in his family and their many accomplishments. His older sister, Artie, became the first Black registered nurse in Illinois. Another older sister, Naomi, was the first Black woman to graduate from Northwestern University. His brother Luther worked for a white-owned movie studio that produced comedies with all Black casts. Another older brother, Hughes, inspired Fritz to play football. Hughes was 6 feet tall and weighed over 200 pounds. Fritz was barely 5 feet tall and weighed only 89 pounds as a high school sophomore at Albert G. Lane Technical High School. But Hughes refused to play football unless younger Fritz was allowed to play too. In high school, Fritz participated in football, baseball, ran track, played the trombone in the orchestra, and was one of the few Black students to receive a high school diploma. After graduation from high school, Fritz was only interested in playing football. College athletics was not regulated, and it was common for athletes to show up on college campuses for short periods of time just to play football and never enroll as an official student. Pollard did this at Northwestern, Brown, Dartmouth, Harvard, and Bates College. While in Rhode Island at Brown University, Pollard would meet his first wife, Ada Lang. To support his new family, Fritz started his first business, Pollard Varsity Pressing Club, that offered ironing services on Brown's campus. Eventually, Brown University allowed Fritz special student status, and he reported to football practice in the fall of 1915. Fritz had an outstanding football performance at Brown University, appearing in the prestigious Rose Bowl. In 1920, Fritz became one of 2 Black players to join a new professional football league, the American Professional Football Association. This new league was made up of 14 teams with the big name in sports, Jim Thorpe as president. Fritz was a member of the Akron Pros as a star running back, playing for crowds of around 10,000 fans. The Akron Pros were voted the 1920 World Champions in the first season. In 1921, Fritz was named head coach of the Akron Pros. This made Fritz not only one of the first Black professional football players, but the first Black professional football head coach. In 1922, the American Professional Football Association was renamed. It would now be called, as we know it today, the National Football League, or the NFL. Pollard would also join a new team, the Milwaukee Badgers. In 1923, Fritz became a member of the Hammond Pros with 8 other African American players. Immediately after signing, Fritz was named the head coach of the Hammond Pros. At age 33, Fritz would be traded from Hammond to rejoin his first team, the Akron Pros, as both running back and quarterback. Fritz would remain with the Akron Pros until 1927, when no Black players suited up to play in NFL games. Maybe because of the Great Depression, or maybe not to upset paying customers, but black players had almost disappeared from NFL rosters. And from 1933 to 1946, there were no black players in the NFL. In the 1900s, life was different for white Americans and black Americans. In many states, blacks and whites were kept separate by segregation. It was a dangerous time for blacks. Some whites felt blacks were not talented or smart enough to play in the NFL. To avoid harassment, Fritz dressed for games separate from the team. While traveling, rocks were thrown at his train window. He was not treated equally or with the same respect as his white teammates. In some cities, Fritz was not allowed to stay at the same hotel. He was refused service at many restaurants because his skin was dark. Opposing teams attempted to severely injure Fritz by having 4 players tackle him at once. Fans often heckled him and yelled racial insults, but Fritz never let that stop his progress. He knew whites did not want him pulling down a high salary, playing and coaching football. They did not want blacks in pro football at all, but Fritz broke right through that barrier. How did he do it?
He did that by being a trailblazer, by being one of the first African American football players, being one of the first African American head football coaches in the NFL. And not only was he the first to do it, he did it in a classy way, in a way of leadership and professionalism.
His advanced education and family values taught him how to handle racial discrimination. Fritz made sure to connect with influential people in the many towns he traveled to while playing football. He connected with business owners, chauffeurs, musicians, doctors, movie stars, and other athletes. In times when he faced adversity, he used his connection. When there seemed to be an unofficial ban against black athletes in the NFL, Pollard formed his own all-star black football team, named the Brown Bombers. Fritz's dream was for the Brown Bombers to play a game against an NFL team to show that integrated games were a possibility. That dream did not happen before Fritz ended his football career in 1938 at age 43. Fritz continued to make progress in other areas of his life, including his newspaper, the New York Independent News, which he wrote a sports column for that highlighted the accomplishments of black athletes that competed in the white sports realm. After living a full life, Fritz died on May 11, 1986 of pneumonia at 92 years old. In 2005, almost 20 years after his death, Pollard was inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame, honoring his role in changing the NFL for black players. His contributions to the NFL are present today. In 2004, Brown University and the Black Coaches Association began awarding the Fritz Pollard Award to coaches. An organization named the Fritz Pollard Alliance was established in 2002 and is composed of NFL scouts, coaches, and executives. The Alliance is committed to providing equal opportunities in professional sports. In our modern society, minorities make up nearly 70% of the NFL. Pollard's fearless entry into professional football paved the way for today's athletes, coaches, and executives that do not fit the past white-only mold.